Hello, I'm Satyam, and this is chapter 2 context of my Blender scripting series. There was a bit delay between this upload because, well, I wanted to create short videos, and the a simple video was going like 20 to 30 minutes. So I think that it will be better if I increase the number of chapters in this series, and I'll make this video shorter and have more chapters. Alright, so so this is the context. So basically we'll learn about context here. So context is very important in Blender. Basically in Blender, the context is a crucial concept for scripting, etc., because it is basically used to deal with the user interface of our Blender. So like the screen right now, like the selected objects, the collection, the view layer like here, and the area and the regions, etc., and even the active camera. Alright, so suppose if I add more cameras like here. Alright, now if you we see here that there are two cameras in the scene collection. Alright, camera and camera 0.001. So right now see the camera is active in it. Right, here you can see the camera has a special box in it. So it means that in our scene collection, in our context, the this camera is actually the active ones. Even if I select here, the active camera is here. So if I render something like here, it will actually render this. And if I change this camera to here, to like this boxed one, and then it will render from this camera. Right, see, nothing is here. So this is basically the context. So a lot of functions in the Blender require context to be available, right? So if I don't know if you know, but suppose a class, right? I'll teach you with an example. So in Python, suppose in Python we make a class like my class, and like here, and suppose we define in it something, and let's pass it. Now if I define a function called function, then I'll have to pass self and whatever thing I want, like arg1, arg2, right? This is a usual function in a simple Python class. But if I make a Blender class, like in Blender we usually make classes for like operators, like these buttons are basically operators. Alright, this button basically work with the operators, and the values which are set here, values and whatever this are, like perspective, orthographic, panoramic, these are props. Alright, so there are two things, props and operators. I will not tell you about props and operator right now, but just remember it. Alright, so uh, the the class in Blender is basically used to define a prop UI, or the function of the whatever operator that you use, like functions, etc., buttons. Alright, so in that what we do is, suppose I am making an operator class. Alright, the opt class suppose, and I'll import bpy types dot operator. This is example, don't take it seriously. I mean, take it this seriously, but don't remember a lot of things. I'm just telling you details right now which aren't important in this chapter, but we will use it later. So I will teach you in that chapter too. So right now you just watch it. Alright, so this here is usually a tooltip. I'm just writing it here so for the context of it. Alright, now if I make a suppose a function here like def execute, so it executes something, then I'll have to pass self and the context of our scene. So the self is usually for our usual Python class. Alright, if you have studied Python, then you might know. And the context is basically our Blender scene right now. So it is actually passing a Blender scene to the execute function, and then it will do something with the context of it. Alright, so this is it. And basically if I want to pass my whole context here, then I'll just suppose bpy import, then there's also called bpy.context. This is our actual context class, and to access whatever context we will have to use this bpy.context. Alright, so I'll just delete it here, and I'll open my toggle system console. Alright, so just ignore all of this. Alright, now suppose a simple script here. So I'll import BPY right now. Okay, so I've selected this object cube here and I've imported BPY. Alright, so I'll just make the variable for context here. So context is equal to BPY dot context. So context is also a class. Alright, now I want to print the active object in our C. So I'll write print context dot object dot name, and it will write me cube. Alright, here cube. So it actually tells me that the active object right now is a cube. Alright, now if I select this camera, then I'll print then the active object is camera. One thing you might notice that you might say that camera is not an object. Alright, and you are right, the matter of fact, but it is an object. So it is a class object, and any and it has, we can see that it also has like a certain dimensions here, right? So like x, y, z, location, rotation, and scale. So it is actually an object right now, and okay, so it is an object, but a camera basically isn't an object. It is separately a camera object. I mean a camera class. Alright, and if we make an instance of the camera, then it will be an object camera but not an object. Alright, so if you do not understand, so let me tell you once again that basically the blender has a thing called object. Alright, so this object is different from our class object. So object is anything which has like a location, rotation, scale, etc., and certain attributes. Alright, and this cube has it, and this camera here also has it. Now suppose if I make a camera by bpy.data.cameras. Alright, bpy.data.cameras. This is usually for making cameras. If I write new, then pass the name of the camera like this, then it will make a new camera. Alright, so I'm not doing it right now. And if I make this camera using this code here, let me just do it once again. If I make a camera using this code right here, this one, then it will be created. Alright, but it won't have this location, rotation, and scale values, and it will be just present in the origin because it is not an object. That to change its location, rotation, and scale, we will have to convert it into an blender object, which is basically bpy.data.objects. Alright, so we'll have to convert it into this to make it a object, to make it a blender object, so that we can change its location, rotation, and scale. And this is, I think this might cover the concept of the context and a bit about objects. Alright, now there are multiple things that we can, there are multiple classes inside the context class which we can use to get the attribute, etc. Like there's also bpy.context.scene, bpy.context.object to access the objects of the current scene, bpy.context selected objects, which tells us the selected objects here. Right, suppose I have selected all of these objects here, and there are a total of 4 objects, and there's, alright, now even if I select these 4 objects, then the active object is presented by this kind of orange, like light orange. Alright, and if I use this objects, alright, if I use this code, then it will give me all of these objects. There's also view layer, area, space, data, and region, which are not important. We will basically work with these 3. Alright, so this is for the context. And let me tell you one more thing, that alright, so suppose Yeah, suppose if I create a collection, right? I'll just make a collection here, new collection. Then what it will do, I mean what Blender will do is it will directly append it to your scene collection. All right, but in fact, uh, the scene collection is actually within the context of this scene right now. And if I make a collection using the code, it won't appear here. All right, let me show you. So I'll import Blender. All right, and I'll make a new collection. So I'll just open, like let's see this first, then I'll open the data API. So I'll make a new collection called call new call is equal to bpy.data dot collections dot new. All right, then I'll pass name. All right, so suppose I'm new call. All right, if I execute this code, uh, sorry, I should have imported before ever blender lol. So if I execute this code, then alright, then there's a collection do not appear here called new call. But if I view it in the data API, and then collection here, it did not append it here. Well, wait, blender file, it should be an orphan data collections. Yeah, so it is a new collection right now, which is an orphan data, which means it does not have a parent, or it is not actually being used in our blender scene. All right, so that's why it does not appear in our like outliner view layer. All right, and to make it to make it appear in our scene collection, we will actually have to link it to the scene collection. So I'll just remove this code, and I'll just do new thing, collections dot get. All right, so that now that I did get, because now that I've created a collection, if I execute this once again, then it will create a new collection. All right, and since this code is executed once, and this is not an interpreter right now, it's executed, and to get the reference of this same again, I cannot create new. All right, you are getting the point, my point, right? So I'm using get to get the collections reference, and then I'll do is simple. So I'll just write bpy.context. So this screen, I'm referencing this screen right now, and then I'll reference scene. All right, so this scene, and then collection. So I'm using this here, I'm referencing this here, this scene collection, and then up linking the children don't link, and then I'll pass the new call. All right, if I execute this, it should like add the collection to this here. So right, it is appended here. All right, so this is how we can like link the collection to this collection, which is basically a work of context, right? And now if I want to unlink it, I'll just use unlink, then it will again go to the orphan data. Now we are referencing scene.collection. Now if I want to like append this new collection to this collection dot two, then I'll have to like reference this and then children dot link again. All right, so I'll just do it, collection to link collection new call. I'm reference sorry, there's a typo here. Oh yeah, lol. I should have wrote old, like old curl. I forgot to reference that. So before data dot collections dot get. What was the name of it again? Of the collection? New call. All right. So new call, and in new call I'm adding old call. All right. So old collection, and I'll just go to view layer, and now now it is appended here. Now, now there's one more thing. All right. So you can actually link a collection to multiple collections. So it is like a tree or a graph. All right. And if it is in multiple collections, then like here I'm going to do it. So see, all right, I reference. So this is in both the collections. All right. And same for these objects. These objects can be in multiple collections too, just the references of them. And to fix it, we'll actually have to unlink it from one of the collections. So if I do unlink, then it will be only present in one collection. So this is our context. All right, context and scene, I believe, because we actually work with the context of the collection, and the context is basically what we are seeing in the screen and what the data we can interfere with in our screen. All right. So this is it for the video, and in the next chapter I'll try to teach you a bit more about scenes, and I believe it will be a short video. All right. Thank you.